Alright folks, my name is Freyn and today I'm going to be covering a few battles in the M50 Ontos. This is very much the American equivalent of the Type 60 SPRG that I recently made a video on, although this one resides in the American tech tree, looks a bit more like a piece of a Toblerone, and as you can see it's got 6 barrels instead of the Type 60's 2. Also, like the Type 60, it is using recoilless rifles, it fires either HESH or heat, and it's rather awkward to play, although awkward in its own different way to the Type 60. Whereas the Type 60 has 2 barrels, which are controlled with individual keys, this has got 6 barrels which are all controlled with 1 key, so they fire in a very specific order. And this can cause you some slight problems, especially at close range. They're a bit more spread out, so the shells don't always go exactly where you want. And often you're going to be firing around a corner, and you want to be firing from, say, maybe the right side, but it's going to fire all the left barrels first. This also, unfortunately, means that you cannot reload until all 6 barrels are empty. Now, for this first battle here, I am on Ardennes, not one of my favourite maps. It's single cap, and I'm just trying to hide in around here. I'm quite small, hopefully I'm also going to be quite sneaky as a result. And so we come to the first target. This is a Panther A, so start firing off into his side. Again, slightly misjudged where the shots were going to come from. Much better on the Tiger P there, before dumping the final 2 rounds into this KV-220. You can see the sheer fire speed of this due to the 6 barrels. It's not something I particularly like facing. As with the Type 60, I feel it gives a second chance if you mess up with your first round, or in this case, far more than just 1 extra chance. You can really hammer the fire button here until the target dies. Something which I myself also make great use of. But that's the KV-220 down after a reload. And now we've got a Panther around the corner. So first one gets transmission, and now you can see the awkwardness of trying to aim at close range. My second shot there went straight past the side of him before my third one went in and killed him. Simply because you've got to try and remember in the heat of the moment exactly which barrel your shot is going to come from. I dare say anyone who plays the Ontos a lot will be quite good at this. I don't really play it often enough, although it has been a more enjoyable experience than I ever imagined it to be. But that's 4 kills picked up there, and I've already down 2 of my 3 clips. This carries a maximum of 18 rounds, and so I would ideally like to get some more ammunition. But again, as with the Type 60 and honestly most light-skinned vehicles, this is not something you want to take near a cap point if you can avoid it. We do own the cap, which helps. It's not like the enemy knows I've gone onto it. But the amount of artillery, aircraft, etc., and obviously being a focal point for the tanks as well, it's going to hurt. I've come back. There is a T-34-85 camping outside our spawn. Thankfully, 1 shot takes care of him. Remember, this is the good HESH. This is the HESH that still has that HE component in it. So it's pretty damn effective if you can hit into the sort of centre of a crew compartment. Just stopping for a brief check. Didn't realise that tank was dead when I came around the corner, despite it not having a turret. But I've got a good set of kills now. It's up to 5. I'd like to pop in, pick up some more ammunition. And there we are, 45 seconds later, I have another clip. I didn't realise it was quite that long until it came time to edit this video. I honestly, it doesn't feel like 45 seconds during the battle. But it's always good to have at least 1 spare clip. I have run out of ammo before, and that didn't end the best as a result. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned so far is the fact that every one of these barrels does have a ranging 50 cal on it. I personally don't make as much use of them as I should. both for ranging and for knocking over obstacles, because I don't like to reveal my position if I can avoid it. They don't fire any AP ammo, so they're not going to be doing any damage to opponents. You do get a 30 cal on top as well, which has killed the occasional plane for me, but probably not something you expect to get any work done with either. Mostly, they're just there for show. I don't touch them, but they are an option if needed. If you have a fence to knock down, of course, you are firing chemical ammunition. You don't want something like that getting in the way. But with that stalling for time out of the way, it's time to try and find a hiding spot. I know there's something coming towards the cap. I'm not quite sure where it's going. I just really don't want to run headlong into it. I need to find a spot where I can use my small profile and hide, preferably without too many bushes in the way that will block my shots. Hesh is quite notorious for being eaten by certain bushes. Seen one coming across the field, T-34-85, can't get enough gun depression for him, so we'll scout him, that way I know where he's going. And now this is where it all goes wrong, of course. Actually effectively kill myself here. First shot should have ideally killed, but instead got absorbed by the extra track armour, detracked him, making him spin, and then every panic shot I fired after that went clean over the top of his hull, because I couldn't see where he was due to the smoke from my own barrels. That's 5 kills, and on to clip number 2. This is Stalingrad. On domination, so 3 caps, and of course I'm out in my central position. I like it here. It allows me to sort of join in a bit on both B and C. I've just spotted a Tiger 2P headed towards the B point here. Is it just about the right range that my shells are converging from all 6 barrels on the same spot? So that's Tiger 2P down. Could go for the turret ammo now that it's forced in there, but I'd like to ideally go for the safety shots. Every now and then I try and go for the one-shot kills, and it doesn't work out. Not just on the Tiger 2, but in general, so I tend to play for the safety shots. Now I've got a Panther F. There's a few obstacles in the way, so I'm trying to make use of those extra crosshairs to see if I can aim at where it's needed. Finishes him off. I've got 1 shell left in this, for lack of a better word, this clip. So I fire it off to reload and happen to splash a tank that I didn't know was there, so quite lucky. I've now got my next target already lined up. And there we are, nice quick shot to the side, object 268 down. And again, despite having to reload there, this really shows the strength of the Ontos in that if you can get good hits with your rounds and make them count, make them kill quickly, you can pick off so many targets so quickly. Of course, there was enough gap between those that I could have probably done it with a regular tank, assuming I'd one-shot them all. If I hadn't one-shot and I just had a single barrel firing Hesh here, they probably wouldn't be dead. Certainly, I wouldn't have all 3 dead in such a short amount of time. You can really, really punish people for even just showing the slightest hint of their tank. Of course, Hesh does also hull break, so that's a BTR down, although it doesn't actually say that was due to hull break. One random sort of guess down the tracks there, just to clear out the shots on that left side. Now only my right 3 barrels are loaded, which makes the tank's performance a little more predictable. Fortunately, this T-44 did not notice me, because I didn't notice him when he drove past. There we are, out from the right. Had they come out from the left, I would have had to aim somewhere else, as all the left crosshairs were going over the back of his tank, just as that pesky T-34 did in the previous game. We're up to 4 kills again. really very quick rounds with this tank. Majority of the time it's kind of over in sort of 4 minutes or so. Maybe being a little overly aggressive. There's a BMP coming. Again, remembering I've only got rounds in the right side. Just trying to work out where they're going to go with all those crosshairs. He did get a shot off, and like him, I have hull brakes, so hitting my barrels there with heat takes me down in one. So now we're on to the third game. This is Italy, again with the single cap. I can hear something just around the side of the building from me, so first mark him up, and then sit and listen for the engine. Now I did get a hit with the first shot, it says, but I'm pretty sure it clipped the end of the wall. Just because the crosshair is on the target doesn't mean the shell's actually going to make it, because again you've got 6 barrels to think about. Think about what's in the way of them, like what's in the shell's path. And sometimes that can be a lot more difficult than it seems. Honestly, this is a very enjoyable machine, but it is so awkward. Especially on a map like this with every conceivable object to block your shots. For instance, I could have had that tiger there as a kill if there hadn't been a fence in the way. Now in the process of breaking through the fence, I slightly revealed myself to another tiger. So I've marked him with my scouting ability. Lets me know he's coming around this way. Thankfully he didn't get a good solid hit on me. And with my my 6-shooter capability, I can just hammer that fire button until he's at least crippled. And then start to properly aim my shells. But again, 1 left out of the 6. I want to reload. Now I don't really want to encounter something else with only 1 barrel loaded. So we force a reload. And let's head down and see if I can maybe clear that cap, because I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but there is somebody taking it. T-3045 in the back of the turret. And let's get down and get it under control. I think overall I prefer the Type 60 to the Ontos. It may have less ammunition, slightly over half the ammunition, and it may only have the 2 barrels, so you don't get quite as many chances to make your shot count. But the split barrels on the Type 60 makes a really big difference, especially when it comes to the reload and controlling your shots. Ideally, I would like to see the Ontos split into left and right, sort of have 1 key to fire from the left 3 barrels and 1 key to fire from the right 3, and then have them reload as a set. You of course can't have all 6 barrels controlled independently like the Type 60s too. That's a few too many controls and it's just going to be a bit too confusing. But I think left and right split would be good. There's several times you really want to fire from one particular side, so you're exposing less of your vehicle to shoot. But that just about wraps it up for this battle. Just finding those last few opponents lurking around in between the buildings. And here's a good example where I think a different firing option would help. Now of course, here the shells were coming from the right set of barrels, so I could have exposed only the right side of my vehicle. But because it's all operated with 1 firing key, it also means it only has 1 scope, so I couldn't see him. Had it been on separate firing keys for each side, I could have selected to aim with the secondary gun. Which, I mean, it could be set up as the left for the secondary, it could have been set up for the right, but either way I could have aimed specifically from the right cluster and only had to shoot, only had to show 1 side of my tank. Then I wouldn't have had to push out. Didn't matter of course because he didn't see me and I managed to kill him, but it would give you far more tactical capability if you had that split firing and split aiming option. And so there we are. That's again kill number 5. 3 games, 5 kills in each. Do have some more clips around. 5 seems to be the lucky number for the Ontos with this session. But I don't want to drag this video on too much longer. So I think we'll just leave it there. As always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you next time.